this is Troy Erickson from the Secrets of Scale podcast, and I have a couple of cool announcements today because the first one is, if you didn't notice, we actually recently rebranded to the Email Marketing and Copywriting podcast. And the second announcement is, on that note, we actually have a really cool guest today that's going to help a lot of email marketers and copywriters get their name out there with personal branding. And if you've been following me on TikTok, Instagram, or even YouTube Shorts, you'll notice that I've put out a lot of content lately. So today's guest, I haven't worked with her personally yet, but she has over 1 billion organic views. She created a TikTok account that went from 0 to 400,000 followers in literally just 40 days. And she's worked with some of the biggest names and has everything from a done-for-you agency to like coaching on how to literally just scale a social media presence, get a lot of attention, and do a lot of amazing things. So I've seen this doing well for me personally over the last several months, and I am super thrilled to bring on Hillary Billings today to talk about some ways that you and I can scale our social media presence. So Hillary, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, no problem. So like I said, I'm like genuinely like super excited for this one because a lot of, people who are freelancers and they've kind of, succeeded with that. The first question is like, okay, like where do I go next? And we'll get into that in a second, but I'm kind of curious, first of all, like, how did you get into this whole internet marketing industry?
It was kind of an accident, I'll say. When I went to college, this wasn't even a career path. I got my degree in psychology. I spent years working as a journalist for USA Today, a producer for E! News. I did a lot of red carpet interviewing, behind the scenes interviews, celebrity interviews. I've talked to everyone from Ringo Starr to Dolly Parton and Mark Cuban. And I've done hundreds and hundreds of videos. I had the opportunity, I'd say back in 2019, I was approached by a publisher about starting a Facebook Watch channel. And at the time, I had such a robust history in content. I was working as a personal brand strategist for other big major brands. I've coached billionaires, Victoria's Secret models, New York Times bestselling authors, and helping them to grow their followings and their brands. And my co-founder and partner, he was a former Billboard charting artist and musician. So we thought that we really had the idea of what made great content on lock. And so the idea of just putting that into video seemed relatively simple. It's just take what we do and make it for Facebook. So we started making these videos and we were terrible at it. We probably spent about 9 months just hitting our heads against the wall. And it was incredibly frustrating because we had so many friends and creators and other people that we knew that were just going viral all the time, millions of views, and it wasn't working for us. And it was very difficult to not take it personally that people didn't want to watch us or that there was something that we were doing wrong. So we finally hit this breaking point of, okay, we've got to figure this out. Either we're all in and we've got to take the personal out of it and determine what's happening here, or we've got to quit. So we sat down and we watched thousands of viral videos and we created a spreadsheet, and it was just very data analysis driven. How long is this video? What's happening in this video? How many people are in the video? What are they wearing? What's being said? How are they doing things? What's the music? What's the description? What hashtags are they using? And through that research time, we were able to find some trends start to emerge. And so we took those learnings and applied it to our next video. And that next video did 5 million views. And the video after that did 10 million views. And it's not to say that every video that we have done since then was successful, but it really helped us to learn that there is a psychology of attention and a way that we have to set up our content so that it captures and keeps attention online and builds that brand affinity. So over the course of the past couple of years, we've done over 1 billion organic views. We grew my following from 0 to 400,000 followers in 40 days. And, after we were running this course of being content creators and being on the hamster wheel, I really wanted to find a way to pair my love of personal branding and everything that I knew about what it took to be a strong personal brand, to be known for your uniqueness in the industry and build a reputation that you can monetize, and tie that to all of the skills that I had with building viral content. So we created Attentioneers because we are engineers of attention, and we've helped clients 240x their results. We've helped clients win Shorty Impact Awards. It's been really fun and fascinating to see how we can take these messengers and these people that are so heart-centered and allow them an opportunity to be seen and heard in a way that feels authentic to them, that doesn't require that they dance for any of their videos.
Yeah, that's cool. That's funny because it's something that I haven't heard that objection lately, but at the
Mm.
beginning, people were like, "Isn't that a place where you just dance?" But who are a couple of your favorite clients that you've worked with and just helped grow?
Oh my gosh. I mean, we have so many, we have such a wide, diverse range of clientels. We have everything from IP attorneys to mortgage brokers to, New York Times, 4-time New York Times bestselling authors, internet celebrities and influencers. We have the number one interactive art experience in the world that is a client of ours. And each of them presents so uniquely different in their voice and their values and even what they're trying to accomplish. But at the end of the day, and I'm purposely being vague because we are under NDA for a lot of these clients as well. But I will say that one of my favorite things is trying to see their back end and what their goals are and how they want to use social media, because the views are great. But at the end of the day, those can just be vanity metrics if we're not finding a way to have the content convert to sales or to new customers or whatever it is that we're wanting to drive towards. Gone is the day of just having the followers to have followers' sake. We want to help to make sure that the content that we're putting out there actually translates to business for the people that we're working for. And so that's the fun part of what we get to do, is to help them figure that out.
Yeah, 100%. And this next question, I'm going to ask you, like,
Yeah.
what exactly is working right now to get a lot of views? And the reason I ask this is because there's a lot of different theories out there. So, for example, I've had personal conversations with Jason Capital and Billie Jean, and
Yeah.
kind of what I've gathered from them is, like, obviously you got to be weird, but at the same time, like having like a themed account. So, and that's
Mhm.
kind of what I've done so far, is like going out in the street and saying like, "Hey, do you want to make $100 to type an email?" And those videos, like some of them do really, really well. One of them recently got 1.1 million views, which is really cool. And it still is
Yeah.
growing, which is even better. And then like my friend Ryan McGinn, who
Mhm.
runs TikTok accounts for like Grant Cardone, Alex Hormozy, et cetera, he says, "Hey, don't pick a topic. Just talk about like random things that you enjoy, and the right people will find you because they'll be able to relate to something that you said. And if they like what you do, they'll buy." So do you have like a specific theory that you have about short form video? Or like what exactly is your strategy?
It's a great question. So we love Ryan. I would say this for starters, especially if you're thinking about content TikTok forward, which is our suggestion, because it's a one-way street. So content that works on TikTok will translate to other short form platforms like Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. It doesn't go the other way, which is where a lot of people have gotten stuck recently. It's because they originally adopted on Facebook or on Instagram. They're trying to take their content that's seen some traction there and force it into the different, shaped peg of TikTok land. So that's for starters, is we like to think about things TikTok first. The other interesting thing about doing that is TikTok specifically as a platform, that the algorithm helps you find content based upon interest, not by familiarity. So that means that you're being served content as a viewer based upon what you like, not who you follow. So really who you follow is almost inconsequential at this point in time. And we'll see where that goes this year and if they're going to make any changes on that front. But you being able to have a certain set of key terms that people can search for to find your content, which doesn't mean it has to be the exact same all the time, but maybe it's in certain spheres or, again, those interests that you like. That can be really helpful because, again, millennials and Gen Z are now using TikTok as a search engine more than Google. It's outperforming Google as a search engine tool for younger viewers. So especially if that's your target demographic or audience, you want to make sure that your content is being filed under the appropriate terminology to make that happen. But at the end of the day, regardless of what's trending, the sounds, the time of the day, we get questions all the time about like, hey, what if we set up the video like this? For us, a great video has three main components. And if it doesn't have these three main components, it probably will not do well. And those have been tried and true for us over the course of our entire time making content. And we see it, and you'll start to recognize it too when you're watching content now, like, oh yeah, they're even if they're unintentionally doing it, they're checking these three boxes. And this is why the content that you've had gone viral is doing so well, is because it makes that happen. So the first thing that the content has to do is that it has to grab attention, right? You've got 2.5 seconds to make an impression, and that 2.5 seconds only buys you another 2.5 seconds. And that is the most important piece. A lot of the times, especially in long form content, we're so used to the payoff being at the end. We're so used to waiting for the thing. And we really got to front load that content so that we're saving the best for first, as my mentor Rory Vaden says. We got to make sure we're hooking them right at the beginning, and you have very minimal time to make that happen. The second thing we want to do is spark an emotion. If our video grabs attention, but it's just kind of weird and it doesn't make me feel anything, I'm not going to keep watching. And we can make people feel a wider range of things. This is why controversial videos do so well, or the dodo videos of an animal getting rescued do so well. Like, I will sit there and watch to make sure that that dog gets rescued from underneath that bridge because I'm emotionally invested. And that's also going to make me want to share that video. So we want to make sure that we're pulling on those emotional strings, and we know we're intentionally setting up the video in such a way that we're doing that on the front end. And the last thing, and I think the most overlooked piece, is that we want to create a gap. There has to be a curiosity gap in the content so that people keep watching to fill that gap. So there's something that we're leaving out, that we're telling them we're leaving out on the front end. We're not giving them too little information, and we're not giving them too much information. And so by doing that, again, this is just like constructing a great email. It's just like constructing a great book. We have to, or even a great movie script, right? We have to give them enough on the front end that they understand what's happening. It grabs their attention. They're emotionally in it. And also it leaves me asking, well, what happens now? So if you have those three components, that is going to make sure that your videos are set up for success, more than, in my opinion, trying to focus on doing anything else that's more of one of these lever pulls. But I do like what Ryan has to say around, especially when it comes to personal branding. If you're speaking to things that you value or that you care about, people buy from people, right? They don't buy what you have to sell, they buy what you believe. So if you're able to speak to these things that are able to showcase your values and your voice and how you care about your customers, that's going to translate as well to more brand affinity.
Yeah, it's crazy how many similarities there are between like writing, whether it's an email, a sales letter, whatever, to a video. And a lot of people, especially people listening to this, they know that, like, hey, if I'm writing a video script or if I'm writing, text-based copy, there are a lot of similarities. But sometimes, for some reason, people look at short form video and they think it's just like completely different. And there are some differences, but you just laid out, three really good pieces. So I guess my next question is, like, yeah, of course you have to showcase, your personality. And you also have to showcase kind of like what you do and maybe give demonstrations and be contrarian. Like, what percentage of the time are you just sharing something cool about your life that interests you versus sharing something about work?
So I think I would say I don't really care about the percentage of how you break that up, as long as the content is about the viewer. Here's what's happened is we have lived so long in this age of Instagram where, and I call it like the Instagram syndrome, where we've learned that personal brands are about making it about me. And like, here's me in front of this event. Here's me on my way to do the shopping trip. Here's me going to travel to X, Y, or Z. Here's me receiving this award. Whatever the thing is that we are doing, we have created this expectation that people want to watch us do these things and that they should be involved in our lives. And that works for established personal brands because they've already created the reputation, they've already created the brand affinity. But most of the time they've done that by going back and really, niching down into one area and focusing on adding value to clients. Now in the TikTok age, we can't produce ads. Anything that's about your business or about you or getting people to promote yourself or your business, that's an ad, right? Like, I really don't want my clients and the people that I'm working with that are trying to get clients, I don't want them to sell. I want them to create a relationship and a connection and trust through their content. And you do that by adding value. So you're welcome to talk about whatever under your personal brand that you value, as long as when you're talking about it, it's somehow providing value to the person that you're trying to target. So let's say I'll use Dave Ramsey as an example. He's got a very established personal brand talking about the problem of debt and how to help people save money and become wealthy. And he does that by leveraging the uniqueness of cash. And it's all about, pay for everything in cash, don't use debt. So even if he's talking about a personal situation, he wants to come back to that brand uniqueness, what he's known for, and where he can add in value to people under that brand positioning statement, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of elements of being contrarian there too, because it's like in the regular world, a lot of people see Dave Ramsey and they're like, wow, this is the only way. But then when entrepreneurs are like, oh my gosh, I hate Dave Ramsey. He has it all wrong. And there's a lot of good contrarian angles there. What are some of the better like contrarian angles that you've seen or worked on, or just in general, like what works for that, especially for somebody who maybe hasn't done that before and they're a little bit scared of like, oh my gosh, I don't want to say that on the internet.
I am a big advocate of people not saying anything that makes them uncomfortable. I think before you even start with content, it's very important that you know what your personal brand is and how you want people to perceive you. A reputation is just anything that people think of when they think about you. Like at the end of the day, that's what a reputation is. And so especially if you're trying to monetize your reputation or you're trying to build revenue through your reputation, we want to ensure that everything that you put out, whatever piece of content it is, whether through copywriting, your copy on your website, your sales funnels, when you go in Keynote, if you're, doing coaching, or whether it's through short form content or long form content like a podcast, we want it all to be very symbiotic. They shouldn't be putting out different parts of you or feel disjointed. So I know that because there are certain accounts and people that can get a lot of views by being more controversial or in your face, then people will just hop on trying to copy those styles because it's worked for that person. But what tends to be disjointed is that their personal brand looks nothing like that person's personal brand. Or they'll try a style of video that Gary Vee's doing. But, again, you have to think about where you are currently in your personal brand process. Gary Vee has been doing this for a long time, and he originally started just talking about wine on YouTube, right? That's what he was known for. So where can you add the value? What are your values that you want to make sure are out there? And then you can talk about, and you can be as controversial and push it as much as you want. To me, that's more about, again, how you're hooking them and creating that curiosity gap. Because, and Ryan does this a lot in his own content. He's not doing a lot of fancy things. He's not pushing a very controversial agenda. But what he is doing is creating a gap of information as to, here's this thing that I'm going to tell you about. And then people wait because they want to know what that is. And they're invested because he set it up very well on the front end. And a lot of it's just him straight talking to camera. Like, it's not fancy camera work. So you don't have to have all the graphics. You don't have to know how to do complex video shoots or bring in a whole cast of crew. It's really just comes down to, how are we structuring the content in such a way that makes people want to watch and aligns with you and your values. And that's really going to attract the right audience.
Yeah, well said. So contrarianism, I guess, if that's a word, that could be great.
Yeah.
If it's on brand with you, and if you're talking about things that you personally believe in, which is great. Because again, people can tell if you're not being authentic. It's getting obvious these days. But a big question a lot of people ask is like, okay, views are views, and that's great. Followers are followers, that's great. In TikTok, you can rack both of those things up to a really high number, but a lot of times sales don't really match that number. So what's the best way to translate views and followers into sales? Because I've heard a lot of people, and I've done both of these personally as well, where you can put a link in your bio and you can get email opt-ins and then, go through that whole process of selling via email. Or you could say, hey, message me on Instagram with a certain keyword and I'll send you all the details. So I know both of those work to some extent for just about everybody, but what is the best thing that you've seen to translate views and followers into sales?
There's two main components to this that I want to touch on. The first one being, if you are trying to convert to a sales funnel or you're trying to convert a customer to a service, you want to ensure that the content that you're putting out there is directly related to that service. So this is where it can get a little tricky in my book when we're talking about you can just talk about things that you love. Well, if you're talking about things that you love that relate to your area of expertise that your target audience is going to care about, then absolutely. But if you're just talking about it because it's fun for you, it could add some color to your personality and to your brand for sure. But it then might be confusing for the target audience or the target client that you're trying to attract. I see this work the best when my clients are focused on creating content that are focused on their target audience and putting out there what they're looking for. So let's say, for example, that you're a real estate professional and you're trying to get more clients that want to sell houses with you, right? They want you as their listing agent. With that in mind, that is my end goal, I am going to curate all of my content around what sellers need to know about what's the issue for sellers in this market? What are the 5 biggest red flags that sellers need to be on the lookout for when it comes to closing? Or what are the 3 unknowns when it comes to listing your house? Here's some stories or background on things that I've done to help get houses sold. What are the biggest mistakes people make when staging their house, right? If I know that I'm going after that target client, I know that client has a lot of problems and they want someone that is knowledgeable that can help them. So that's the first thing, is we want to ensure that the content is strategically set up to bring in that client and is strategically set up to add value. So the next time, so they're automatically subscribing and following your content because they need that before they even work with you. And then when they decide that they want that service, they can be like, oh my gosh, I know the perfect person. I already follow that account. So that's the first thing. The second piece is most people will put a link in their profiles, which is great, especially when it comes to TikTok, because TikTok audiences are, twice as likely to go to a profile and visit to find out more than on other platforms. And they're like 3 times as likely to click in and actually make a sale from TikTok than other platforms. So that's great. However, that also tends to be disjointed. A lot of people use link trees. They've got 12 different links that they've posted. And now you've got decision fatigue, where it's like, I don't really know where you want me to go. I don't really know what I'm interested in. And I'm just going to bounce back because this is too much, right? So to me, again, it doesn't matter so much what process you use, as long as you know the process and you're very clear as to this is the action I want you to take. We need to have that kind of directness. We need it to be very clear. And it's also going to help the people that are coming and interested to know whether or not they're a fit. It needs to be a yes, tell me more, or nope, not for me. And they can immediately bounce back. And that's great. And they can stop wasting your time too. So those are the 2 major components that I think people need to be thinking about. And most of the time they just stop at, I'm putting up content. I see people are coming to the website and then they're bouncing away and I don't know why. And they're not necessarily thinking through how all of these different steps are linked together and how important it is to have that on lock.
Yeah, I think reverse engineering is a real key to just about anything. That's why I love email too, because a lot of people are so front end focused and like, hey, what kind of ad should I be running? I'm like, I don't know. Like, why don't you figure out what exactly you're going to sell first?
Yes.
Like, what is the number one thing you want to sell that's really expensive? And then just work right backwards. And then all the answers will kind of reveal themselves in time. But
yeah, it's the number one question we ask our clients when we start working with them is, what's the goal? What are we actually trying to achieve? Because depending upon what you tell me might create a different plan and a different strategy.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing too, so a lot of the people, especially as I talk more about personal branding and grow my brand even more with short form video, is I'm really trying to educate my audience on like just how important this is and how to get yourself out there on social media, because that's obviously a great way to get clients, whether it's actually doing the work or coaching somebody. But a lot of people listening to this are probably like, gosh, I need like a really big video team and a huge budget, and I need somebody following me around with a camera like I'm Gary Vee in my office. But in reality, I feel like if you have a phone, you can succeed with this. And even if you do have a phone, it takes time to edit. So like, what advice would you give to somebody who has maybe not put out short form content or not put out much short form content because they feel that there's a lot of barriers with either time, team, or money?
Oof. Isn't that the struggle that we're all up against, right? Is removing those friction points for the parts of our business that we don't want to do. The first thing I'll say is And I'm not in the business of trying to convince people to do short form video. I believe in order for you to do it well, you have to be bought into that this is the way that I want to build my following. I want to build my business. I will say this though, Adobe recently came out with a study showing that 80% of the time that you're on your phone, right? Think about how often we have this attached to our hands. You are watching short form video. 80% of the time. Only 20% of the time are people doing other things on their phones, like looking at websites, even on social media sites, right? Where they're specifically focused on video. So if that much time is being and attention is being put on videos, and by the way, 20 million videos are being posted to social media every single day. If you are not in that conversation is being held with or without you. So you're missing out, and that's got to be okay with you. So that's the first piece. So then when it comes to, I don't have a team, I don't know where to start, for the most part, I mean, and again, we've experimented with all sorts of different content in short form and different types of cameras. And my co-founder is a screenwriter and a film director. And so it pains him that the advice that we give people is just shoot it on your iPhone, because that's what people want to watch. They want to watch content that looks like somebody is good with an iPhone. They do not want to watch any sort of cinematic videos. They do not care. They do not do well. And you don't have to have a lot of skills. There's so many different apps that are available these days, even from iMovie, or you've got CapCut, which TikTok actually created, which is great because then you can export the video. It's ready to go for both, uploading to TikTok as well as to Instagram. There's so many great apps that are available nowadays that make it just so easy for you to be able to make content. And don't take a lot of time. You can also hire an intern. Colleges, and there are plenty of students that are in digital marketing degree programs who would love to help you with something like this if you don't have the budget. But we say often, when I was working with Brand Builders Group, you either have the money or you have the time. So if you don't have the money, then you have the time to figure it out. And if you have the money, then you don't have the time and you need to outsource that. And there's a lot of people on Fiverr and what have you that can help in that regard. So I'm a big proponent of let's remove the areas of friction. What's keeping you from getting in front of the camera and just trying it? And let's look at what we can do to make this process more efficient for you. And it will become more efficient over time. But if you're not bought into it, you're not going to stick with it.
Yeah, that's definitely the first point that you have to get across to people is hey, first of all, you need to be on here. If you don't believe that yourself, you'll realize that eventually I don't want to take the time to try and convince you, because if you're not convinced yet, if you come to this realization 3 years from now, you kind of missed the boat. So you should probably realize it now. Second thing is just realizing hey, it doesn't have to be perfect. I have an iPhone. All I need to do is just sit down, write down some things I believe in that have to do with what I'm selling, and just write it. Because a lot of people listening are good at writing. They're just maybe a little bit scared of video. So get the writing done first, and then take your iPhone, set it up. And you can do this when nobody's home, just so it's not embarrassing or whatever. And just be really enthusiastic. Sometimes it's hard, and I like to talk with my hands like I am right now, but I love to be enthusiastic, and I've gotten over it. So those are some of the things that have just helped me personally, for anybody who's kind of who feels a little bit stuck on starting. But when you post that first video, and obviously you can use an editor to get the cool letters up on the screen and stuff, but you just got to post the first one. And I guess that leads to the next question too. From my understanding, hashtags don't really matter that much. How does Instagram find the right people? Do they listen to your video and then categorize it? Or how do you get in front of the right people? Should you use hashtags? Does the title matter that much, or is it just about the video?
So I can speak to this more on the TikTok front, because this is more our area of expertise. And we do know, again, that what works on TikTok will translate to Instagram, but I'm not as familiar with how their algorithm does things. I can tell you that on the TikTok algorithm, it's categorizing based upon what's being said in the video. it's being categorized based upon what text is on screen. And it's also being categorized by the visuals in the video and by the description of the video. So you've got at least 4 different areas that the AI is hitting. The AI can tell what's in the video. And this is why accounts might get flagged, because you've got a girl in a bikini, but she's not next to a body of water. Right. So it knows what's happening in the video. And if it can't see what's happening in the video, by the way, it'll deprioritize the content because it's trying to protect younger viewers from anything that might be unseemly in the background, which is why when you go to the creator page on TikTok and they walk you through, here are things to consider, lighting is such a big proponent of that. So that's the first thing that you need to understand, is there are multiple layers to which the AI is assessing and dissecting your video. Especially because TikTok is now the newest and the most engaged SEO platform for millennials and Gen Z. TikTok is putting a lot of effort into helping your content be searchable. It's getting cataloged on Google, as well as most people are now using TikTok to search for video content. So they have upped their character count in the description from whatever it was, 150 Twitter-like characters before to now 2,200. So you have 2,200 characters to utilize for hashtags. And yeah, if you are a real estate agent in Oklahoma, I want to see you utilizing that space to be cataloging again, based upon interest, not familiarity. So that's another area where you're going to be able to do that. I think that the game of hashtags and, posting times, and we get the question a lot in our virtual boot camp that we run every month with clients is, I hear that you have to post 3 or 4 times a day in order to make a following, or that you're not going to have your first video go viral for 700 videos. And there's a lot of back end post-production strategy that gets discussed. And I think people spend a lot of time on it because it feels like the most controllable thing. In our experience, and what we've been directly told by platforms, is that it's the content that is the primary driver of conversions, whether that's for followers, whether that's for views, whether that's for leads, whether that's for, sales. It's the content. But the challenge is you have a lot of people that don't have experience making great content. And that's one of the uniquenesses of our company, is that we've done 1 billion organic views. We've done thousands of videos. We've helped clients make great videos. We know what it takes. We know what the psychology of attention requires in order for it to be a good video. So I think a lot of people spend time on the back end and focusing on post-production because they don't know how to change what they're doing on the front end. And it all matters. But as far as the 80-20 rule of what's going to be the biggest driver, we put a lot of focus on ideation and pre-production. For us, the best post-production strategy is a great pre-production strategy.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I saw recently somebody posted, I can't remember who it was. I maybe have seen this a couple of times, but
yeah.
You're not shadow banned. You're just not making good content.
Yes.
It's funny because so many people say like, oh, the algorithm doesn't like me. Yeah. And they'll say it on any platform, not just TikTok. And
Correct.
It's like, it's not shadow banning. It's not the algorithm. It's your content. Like, I hate to break it to you, but it's your content.
And that's another thing too, is when it comes to the whole like, oh yeah, you have to have 700 videos before one goes viral. To me, that just says you've made 700 bad videos. I have less than 100 videos on my TikTok currently. We're sitting at 850,000 followers and 20 million likes, right? It's not based upon the number. And I haven't posted in months. I've gone a long period of time without posting. And really, it just takes a couple of quality videos to get the account engaged again. But if you're consistently posting videos that people don't want to engage with. I don't want to call them bad videos because I think that every video can be worked to be better. And people get very touchy about calling their content bad. However, quality is so much more important than quantity any day of the week. And in fact, like, we're working with business owners who don't have time. This is not their full-time job. It should not be their full-time job. So I would rather you post less and make sure it's really good than you post all the time and just hope for the best.
True. Now, why haven't you been posting lately? Have you gotten busy, a little bit burned out, focusing on your agency?
Yeah. So in November, I think we did 182 videos and I just got totally burnt out. I was over it. And yeah, we had made the switch to really focusing on our own content, on the agency and building that out and helping other people's content. I find more fulfillment in helping other people win and seeing the excitement when they get it in the boot camp or through our one-on-one coaching or however it is that we're working with them, or just seeing the collaboration and community that comes together when people start to understand the process through the group coaching programs. That is so much more fulfilling to me than me just getting views for my own videos. And I know that's a very strange thing to say as a content creator that's had a lot of success. But yeah, and I get burnt out. I also didn't, when I started my own TikTok, I didn't have a system. I was just figuring it out and taking all of the learnings that we had on Facebook and applying it to TikTok. And trying to see what worked and what didn't from that. And so there was a nice long learning curve of figuring that out as well. So I think it's like with anything, it has its seasons, and we're getting ready to launch some new content, which we're very excited about, and just picked up a Snap show. So that's exciting, and we're figuring out that process. But yes, my heart and what I've learned is that I love to support others, especially when they're mission driven and getting their message out there to be seen.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of people in my audience that feel that way too. It's just like, very message driven. They do great work, but they just haven't gone viral yet. And like, these are very good people that just, they kind of deserve it in a way, but at the same time, the algorithm only cares about the content. So I guess my last question is, let's say somebody is a freelancer, they're, maybe a copywriter, and obviously maybe they don't have their own offer yet, right? Because like, I know TikTok works if you're selling coaching, because there's a lot of people doing it, including myself to a good degree, right? But what about somebody who doesn't have like a coaching or consulting offer, or even something low ticket? Let's say they're selling B2B copywriting services for $1,000 or more. What is the best, like what are the differences so you can attract those type of people, right? Because TikTok, it's like, sure, people have kind of learned over the last year that there's more adults on there than we previously used to think, but there's a lot less of them than, people who are just looking to be entertained and like watch funny videos and stuff. So how do you find B2B clients on TikTok?
That's a great question. So I'd say I'd at first plan for it to be a slower ramp up, because you've already narrowed your sample size and your target audience to be a much smaller demographic. And with that, again, if we are trying to sell a higher ticket service to a business, what information do they need to know before they hire somebody like you? What would be beneficial for them to know in order for that to happen? There's also an opportunity for you to create a lower ticket offering to sell to the masses. But I think the best question that you can answer is, if someone who I want to find me was searching for something on TikTok, what would they be searching for? What questions do they need answered that I can provide free information on? And again, it might be a very small population that you're looking at in comparison, but then you can also translate that content to LinkedIn very easily. So that's another thing. We see a lot of successful viral videos on TikTok end up on LinkedIn. And being able to leverage that video for the other platform where you're going to have a more direct B2B connection is also very valuable to you.
That's a good point. So obviously you can take TikTok videos, put them on Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, but you're saying LinkedIn too? Do they have like a short form video, or do you just post it as a regular video?
As far as I see right now, and we haven't spent a ton of time exploring this yet, but I see people just posting short videos as videos on LinkedIn that do rather well for them.
Yeah, that's cool. And yeah, it's just really about not being discouraged. If you sell a B2B service, like you have, at least 4 platforms you can post on, maybe even Facebook. That would make number 5 out of all the ones that we just mentioned. And just getting it out there literally could 5x your reach by doing that alone. And yeah, creating a low ticket offer is a great thing, and really just like having your own offer. And if you have an opt-in in your bio, right? Like you'll get so many people in. Yeah, the majority of them might be people looking for courses or coaching, but all it takes is one, right? So if you're trying to close a B2B client and 1,000 people opt in from TikTok, and I've had thousands of people opt in from one video, so I know it's possible. It's like, there's probably one person in there who would buy from you. So I would just say keep going, because at the end of the day, like you have to get your hook and your angle down right, and you have to have a good place and a good offer to send people to. And if you could do that, just rinse and repeat. But you have to test and see what works first. So this has been very good, Hillary. Now, if somebody wants to like find out more about you or kind of like learn about, your teachings and your methods, is there a link that they should go to?
Yeah, absolutely. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about helping people find their voice and putting themselves out authentically in short form video. And we have a lot of different ways that people can work with us, from coming to one of our virtual boot camps to one-on-one coaching or done for you service. The best place for you to start is to go to attentioneers.com. That's attention, EERS.com. We have our free viral video story map, which is the exact workbook that we use when we're breaking down videos with clients, and we've used for ourselves thousands of times in all of the videos that we've done to help us make sure that we're really focusing on that front end piece before we even start production. So that's available to you on our website as well as our free gift. And I look forward to you reaching out if you want to learn more about what we do.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. So it's attentioneers.com.
Correct.
And you can basically take all the stuff we talked about and get it in writing and get like Hillary's advice sent to your inbox, so on and so forth. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good option. And yeah, thanks for coming on and just like sharing about this, because I think that this has become more important than ever. So I think everybody here should be doing it. That's all.
I appreciate you having me. And I agree. Let's make some compelling content.
Awesome. Thank you. And thanks everybody for listening. Again, this is now the Email Marketing and Copywriting Podcast, because we're going to have a way bigger reach that way. It's more relevant. And obviously we can cater content just like Hillary's content specifically for email marketers, copywriters, et cetera. So it's even more relevant to you. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.